So first we'll try to understand about the single tasking, the history of single tasking and multitasking, why we need the multitasking, how it came into the picture. So initially OS were not multitasking. So first time multitasking was introduced in the Unix and then in Windows 3.1. So DOS was the single tasking operating system. So if you run a Java program from DOS prompt and suppose you open a frame through it, so you cannot run any other program until you close that particular frame. So this is how it works in the single tasking. So to understand the importance of multitasking and how it works, we'll go into a little bit of basic first. So let me pull off. So we'll try to basically understand how the computer system works in general and how the multitasking has been introduced. So this is a basic flow diagram that we have all, have gone through. This is the user and it will basically interact with the system software or the application software, and the application software will basically work with the operating system, and operating system will work with the hardware where the CPU, RAM, input output like the keyboard, monitor and everything. So basically the operating system has the mastermind program. Operating system is the mastermind here. There are a lot of programs basically runs in the operating system for various regions, and they basically operating system basically prioritize which applications should run first, which applications should run after that and all. So in all these cases, what is the key point? What is the key point that operating system need to run any of the program? So that is the cycles of processor, right? So to run any program in a computer, operating system need the cycles of processor to run that particular program. So suppose you basically so how it works. So suppose you basically open a MS Excel. Let's take an example of MS Excel or MS Paint. So you open the MS Excel. So you have given the command to operating system, and then operating system will basically check how many cycles of processor needed for that particular application to run, and then also check that is that free or not. If that is free, then operating system will allocate that particular cycles of processor to that program, to the in our case to Microsoft Excel, and then MS Excel will run. So to run it in the RAM, and then it will go to the RAM. So to run it, basically to start it, it needs the cycles of processor, and then there is no need of cycles of processor. That will take place in the RAM and it will run itself. So this is the basic cycle of any application that run into a computer system. First you request to the operating system. Operating system has lot of algorithm runs into operating system. They basically prioritize which one should run first, which one should run later, and then basically to run any of that program they need the cycles of processor. So they get the cycles of processor and then they run it. So after they run one program, then the processor used to sit idle. So that basically understood by the developers or the engineers, you can say that yeah, the processor is sitting idle while the running that program, and that particular thing came into the picture, and then they think about doing it to the multitasking. Let me take a real world example of multitasking. You will be able to better relate to this particular situation. So here is the story of Mr. Gupta ji. So Gupta ji is a working professional, and yes, he got married. And he got married to a beautiful lady called Lily, and she was also a working professional. So married to Lily. Okay, and they have a beautiful daughter named Aditi, and now says, you can say, school going girl. So yes, then both have a daughter. So Gupta ji, sorry. So Gupta ji bought a car. So as I told you, Gupta ji is a working professional. So Gupta ji used to go to the office by public transport. Then he bought a car, and he didn't know how to drive it, so he hired a driver. Okay. So basically, what is the daily routine of Gupta ji? So Gupta ji used to get ready for the office in the morning, and his driver used to pick him uh, from his place, and he used to drop him to his office. And then, so driver used to park his car in the parking and wait for Gupta ji to finish his shift. So in the evening, when Gupta ji finishes his shift, the driver used to pick him up again and used to drop him back to home. It's like home to office to home. In the meanwhile, Lily was going to her office by the public transport. And as I told you, Aditi is a school going girl, so she used to go to the school by school bus. So Gupta ji was very smart. He realizes very soon that his driver is basically sitting idle while he is working in office. So he used to drop him at 9 o'clock in the morning, and around till the 6 o'clock he used to just sit idle in the parking area and used to roam here and there. That's what he was doing between those times. So Aditi used to come from school to home, and Lily also were using the public transport to get back to the home. So what Gupta ji did? So Gupta ji understood very well that his driver is sitting idle in between those times. So what he did, he asked his driver to first first thing in the morning to drop Aditi to school, and second thing to pick Gupta ji and his wife Lily and drop first Lily to her office, and then to Gupta ji. Gupta ji's office. After he dropped both Gupta ji and Lily to their respective office, he used to go to Aditi's school and pick Aditi from school. After picking Aditi from school, he used to drop Aditi to home, and then he used to go to Lily's office, and then he has to pick Lily and Gupta ji from their office and drop them to the home. So what basically Gupta ji did, Gupta ji utilized his driver's idle time and made him multitasking. So Earlier he was just sitting idle. Now he is doing everything that the Lily and Aditi were doing herself. Now he's helping them as well, and he's helping Gupta ji as well. So Gupta ji basically used his idle time, and by making his driver multitasking, Gupta ji is able to complete his and his family's daily transportation routine. So this is the same thing happening in the computer system as well. So the engineers is basically utilized the idle time of processor and made the operating system multitasking. I hope you understood it. The basic concept of multitasking. Let's get into the multitasking, how it works, and which kind of multitasking operating system now we are using, and so on.